Hey, you're listening to episode 49 of Our Modern Heritage, the new Home and Family Culture podcast. And I'm your host, Jody Chathy. In this episode, I'm interviewing my friend, Jade Jones of Jonesin for Taste. She has this food blog that she's been doing for about 9 years. And Jade and I met about 11 years ago when we were both attending school at Brigham Young University. But I'll get more into that in the episode. The purpose of having Jade on today was to talk about her new campaign that she's doing with Jenny from the Gingered Whisk, where it's a campaign of new cultural foods to introduce to your families and easy recipes, and they're also throwing in videos and TV shows that they recommend to help with learning about different foods, as well as giveaways and things like that you can go onto Jonesin for Taste or the Gingered Whisk Facebook pages or their websites, and you can sign up for that campaign that they're doing. That's more towards the end of our conversation, and leading up to it, Jade and I discuss all the different challenges that arise from trying to feed our children, especially trying to feed them with the different varieties of foods and introducing them to different ethnic foods and things like that to help expand their palates and their manners and things like that. And so Jade and I talk about the different things that we've experienced trying to make time for our families to have a good meal together each day. Jade especially talks about how when her husband was in the military and now he's in law enforcement, and so that it can be challenging to try and make the time to have family meals every day. But Jade and her family have made that a priority to their family, and you'll hear this word throughout our discussion. It comes up a couple of times where we say that this is our anchor, and that mealtime really is an anchor for our family, and that when we can sit down and have a meal together, it really does strengthen our families. And there are other ways that you can create that anchor if meal times are hard, doing family read aloud time or holidays or retreats or family meetings and things like that. But it really all comes back to, making that time and prioritizing our families. And so that's what this episode ultimately comes down to is this anchor of finding that time to be with our families and making it quality, to introduce our kids to new foods and time together and conversation, and being able to demonstrate resilience for our children through the different things that we experience. So that's what this episode is all about. And I've been learning too about the way that we treat food and the way that we use food as a means of consolation or coping with trials and struggles and things like that. It can be challenging. I think one of the things over the last 10 years that Michael and I have really been drawn to or magnetized toward is coping with eating out, especially. We really, that's kind of like a fallback plan. But that's one of the things I liked about my discussion with Jade here, is that we talk about that we shouldn't have to sacrifice the nutritional value of food or the quality of our food just because of stress or crunching time or lack of skills in cooking and things like that. That she, on her website, has lots of these great resources to be able to, keep the integrity of the meal and without sacrificing nutrition or having to go out and buy food or eating out and things like that. I also want to encourage you at this point to go on and sign up for my coping challenge. I introduce 30 powerful coping strategies, because we all have different things that we are coping with stressors and anxiety, depression, just everything from day-to-day life. And so These 30 powerful skills are ways that will help us to cope better by using self-care and boundaries and just true recovery. Because I think we get caught in this cycle of stress and then consoling ourselves, using consolation. So I just want to encourage you to go to homeandfamilyculture.com/cope. Or you can go to my Instagram page at Family Culture Podcast and click on the link in my profile and you can sign up there. All right, let's get to my interview with Jade. Jade currently lives in Southern California with her husband and 3 children, 1 girl and 2 boys. On her blog, Jonesin for Taste, she creates easy recipes that allow you to explore the amazing flavors of the world and spend more time together as a family and less time in the kitchen. Jade is a huge Harry Potter nerd, loves Winnie the Pooh, and is not so secretly obsessed with brownies. You can usually find her binge-watching episodes of The Great British Bake Off, crocheting or sewing, and reading a book from her gigantic stash. I hear you, Jade. Awesome. Welcome.
Oh, man. So many books. It's a problem. It's an addiction.
Right? It's a blessing and a curse, I think.
Yeah.
I love it. Cool. Well, so glad you could be here, Jade. Jade and I go way back. We actually met back at BYU when we were going there. And so happy to reconnect and talk about your new project here. So
yeah, I'm excited to be here. I know it's hard to believe, 11 years.
I know, right? How did that happen?
I don't know.
Time flies.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Oh.
Kids to you and I both have a mess between us.
Right? We would have chaos if we got together, right?
Oh, gosh. Yeah. So many children.
That's awesome. So since that time, you started up this Jonesin for Taste. And it's becoming like this great, successful blog.
So I actually started it back in college, right around the same time that I had my oldest, who's now 9. And it was a way to share recipes with friends who were asking for recipes. But even then I knew I think I could maybe make money from this. Blogs were just starting, but there were people making money. But I've always loved cooking, and it was something that I kind of eat, sleep, breathe, cooking. My husband teases me. He's like, when you have nothing to do, what do you do? And I'm like, I think about food. Is that not normal? So it just has been like a natural thing for me that it's fun. It is fun to do. And so I enjoy doing it, and it's really awesome to get paid for it. And
yeah.
My blog has evolved over the years. When I first started it, we were in college and we had practically no money. And so it was very much like budget bites, like making everything from scratch, like how can I save money? But as we've, progressed through careers, and I now have 3 children instead of just the 1, I can't cook from scratch anymore. It's just not practical. And so that has evolved so that now I really am focusing on easy meals for busy people, because I think that really fits so much of us in this time and season of life, is that things are busy and funneling kids from place to place. And so I don't want to sacrifice what we eat just so I can get food on the table quickly. So we still want to eat like a curry and Asian food and stuff, and I still want to make it. So now it's just evolving to find the best shortcuts to get that food on the table as fast as I can.
Yeah, I love that, because it's so true. Like, we're crazy, we're busy all the time, but we don't want to sacrifice having nutritious meals just because we want to, get food on the table quickly, or variety or things like that. But a lot of times, like for me right now, I'm so stressed out about food because I'm like, I don't have time for this. I've got so much going on. But
well, and it's so hard if you're trying to eat healthy, but your kids don't necessarily need to eat quite the same foods that you do. Like, they're little, they burn off so many more calories. Like, we have to watch what we eat so much more than they do. And so I don't, it's like we try to eat healthy and I try to do balanced meals, but at the same time, like, I also want to have dessert. And so it's like, okay, let's try to eat healthy, but I'm also not going to go to any extremes, and that's okay.
No, totally. And I like your idea. Like you say, you want to do curry and Asian food and variety and things like that, because it's cool to give our kids that exposure to the different kinds of foods that they, it helps to give them that variety in their palate to like learn about different cultures or foods and things like that. And, or just to be tolerant of different kinds of foods. You know, so many people complain like, oh, my kid will only eat chicken nuggets and macaroni and cheese or something.
Absolutely.
But it's because you have to expose them to those different kinds of foods. And that's not easy if you're trying it brand new, or if you are, you know, every time I go to pick up a new recipe, I'm like, now I have to get a whole new slew of ingredients for this new recipe. And it's challenging. And I'm just like, I want to be able to have that variety, but it's hard.
It is hard. And I think it's something that's really important to our family, just because I come from a really diverse background, that like I did a DNA test and it covered almost like every major continent. And I mean, I'd always been teased about that because we like family lines. I was pretty sure that was the case. For them to get the DNA results back and be like, well, that just hit every major continent where there are actually people. Like Antarctica was like the only one not on there. But I was like, but that's really cool. Like that's a really rich heritage that we can explore, and exploring through food is a really easy way to do that and to make it fun. And
yeah. So what are the ways that you make it easier? Like, how do you do it? Because you said it's hard to cook from scratch, and I totally agree with you there. So what do you do to like break it up and make it easier?
So I've really learned to maximize like my slow cooker and my Instant Pot, to do a lot of the hard lifting stuff for me. And then it's also being okay and finding the right products, like what sauces do I really like, or what spice mixes can I use? You know, what are there out there? And maybe it's worth spending a couple extra dollars to get a spice mix, because Amazon, you can find so much on Amazon. Yeah, right. But get that spice mix so I don't have 18,000 spices in my cupboard, which I currently do. They're all over the counter.
That's what you do, so that's good.
Yeah. But it's like experimenting more with these spice mixes. So it's like, it's okay that I maybe am not making this spice mix from scratch, but this blend also works really well. And then I have, a few less spices in the cupboard. So yeah, I mean, it's the speeding it up. It's like, do I have to do this like slow braising for 16 hours? I mean, okay, so pulled pork is a perfect example. I'm Hawaiian. Pulled pork is huge. We usually make a pit in the ground, and you line it with coals, and you have the peelings, and you roast an entire pig in the ground, and you cover it up, and it's like, I mean, it's an all day process. Yeah. Okay, well, I use my slow cooker or my Instant Pot for that, and I can do it in my Instant Pot in less than an hour. And it tastes just as good, and that's okay. Like, I can talk to my kids about how you could actually do it, like our ancestors did it, but I don't think my ancestors would be like, wait, you have a thing that you can cook this in an hour and you don't do it? Like, why would you do that?
That was great pigeon accent. I love it.
I mean, hear that in my sleep, like my ancestors being like, don't do that. That's stupid.
That's awesome. I love that too, because like, I mean, you walk around like Trader Joe's or some of these other stores that have like kits or mixes and things like that. And I go, how can I use that? And I just don't even know. But that's a really good idea to be like, let me give myself permission that it's okay to grab a mix or grab a sauce or grab, these things that are really actually very delicious. Check the ingredients, make sure there's nothing going on in there that's not going to, jive with your body or whatever.
Yeah.
And then it's so much easier.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what I do all the time. It's, yes, could I chop up all the salad for a salad mix and do it all? But what if I just start with a mix and add ingredients to that? So I just did that with we were doing like a Mexican food night. And so I added like plantain chips and pepitas and stuff. And it was like, it made it a really fun salad, but it started with a salad kit, and that's totally cool.
Yeah. That was something that I learned recently, a good salad kit. There was one at Costco that's like they have a few of them right now, that it's like a base. And then a friend of mine she came over for a meal once, and she brought this amazing salad. And she's like, oh yeah, all I did was just chop up everything that was fresh in my house and put it in there. But then I realized she also had the base from that salad at Costco. And it was this amazing chopped salad. And I thought it was like something that was going to take a lot of work and a lot of ingredients. She's like, no, I just grabbed whatever was fresh in my house and toss it with this sauce and things like that. And it was perfect.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many amazing products out there that really do fit. I mean, cater to almost every diet. I mean, obviously, if you're gluten-free, you really have to scrutinize. But yet there's amazing products out there because we've come a long ways. in foods. And so why not use those products out there?
Totally. I love it. So that makes me, I already love your website. Awesome. So let's see. So how is Jonesin for Taste? Like, how has that served your family and changed? Has it changed anything about the way that your family functions?
It really has. And it was interesting talking to my husband this morning about it, that he was like, quote me on this. And I was like, okay, I'll quote you on this. But his point was that like food is important, family is important, but those don't have to be mutually exclusive. Mm-hmm. And so we try to make it as much of a family event as possible. We've always tried to, even if I'm cooking, like playing a game or something as a family, where in between rounds I can kind of go back and forth and check in on stuff. But try to stay together as much as possible. And that helps a lot. But also for me personally, it's been perseverance. Blogging's hard, and it's really a long game. It's not a short game. I mean, there are those bloggers who get really big really fast, but probably 97% of the rest of us have been doing this for years. I've been doing this for 9 years, and I don't make six figures, and that's okay. But it's having to roll with all the punches. Blogging is a completely different world than it was when I started 9 years ago. And it's taken me a while to kind of run through all the changes. I sometimes feel like a dinosaur who just got like resurrected. It's like Jurassic Park. And I'm like coming back and like, okay, I'm going to be part of this world again. And that's hard, but it's okay. And like the algorithms may change and social media will change. I mean, none of these other platforms were around when I started. Pinterest didn't start until like 2 or 3 years after I had already started my blog. So, and Facebook, you didn't use Facebook for business. It was just personal profiles. So like, it's a completely different world, and having to just kind of roll with the punches. But I feel like my kids have been they're very involved in my blog, and, we talk about taste testing and what we're doing and stuff. And so I feel like it's a good way for them to see, like, you have to roll with roller coaster of life. It's going to be lots of ups and downs and twists and things you weren't expecting. And, is it, you're going to like curl up in the fetal position because you don't want to change? Or are you going to like be like, okay, you know what? Tomorrow's a new day. Let's start over and let's figure out what I need to do different.
Yeah, I can totally see that with my experience with the podcast and how I'm like, I feel like I'm helping to show my kids that you can work on something that you can be passionate about, and that anymore, that's becoming it's just so prevalent and a lot easier to like dive into something that you are interested in. It's like millionaires that are just on Instagram or YouTube because they are a magician or juggle or, something like those people have a huge following or whatever. But to show them that it's not something that you go, oh, I'm just going to post a few recipes or post a few episodes and, oh, nobody's listening, so I'm done. You persevere through that and you stick to it because it's something that you love, and it's something that you feel like is going to make an impact. So that's cool.
Our world is changing, and I think it's becoming easier to work and also be a mom in some ways. I mean, obviously there's a whole nother minefield that goes along with that, but that they're not mutually exclusive anymore.
Yeah.
And I want my kids to know that, like, you don't have to give up on your dreams so you can be a mom. Like, we're all working towards all of our dreams. We're working towards fulfilling my husband's dreams, but he's also working to help me fulfill mine. And it's something that we talk about in like our bucket list and life goals. And some of those life goals are crazy and you think there's no way, but maybe that's not so crazy if we all work together.
Yeah.
Make it happen.
It's so cool that anymore, like this month, I've talked a lot about how with other guests about this like a gig economy and how everything is like becoming Uberized or freelance and things like that,
Yeah.
And how more and more like our culture and our economy is actually going more and more towards this whole like freelance, contractor type of work, where more and more they're not going to have like hired on employees because it saves the company on insurance and taxes and all this kind of stuff, that they can just contract the work out to people. And then that allows us to have more freedom and things like that. And so more and more we're going towards that like freedom style of family life and living, and more, we just see all these people who are successful doing all of that. And it's like more and more of us are going, I want to tap into that too.
Yeah. I mean, and I think it's great. I mean, I think it allows people to really customize it to fit their own needs and their own personalities and their family's needs. And that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, totally. Well, the other thing I was going to say too is that you said food and family are not mutually exclusive, and that is beyond true. Like food almost in a way shapes our family in a lot of ways. I actually had another interview with a lady who was a nutritionist, and in how it's like our attitude around food can shape so much about our children and the way that they grow up and their attitudes around food, and so much about body image and eating disorders, things like that, that if we put too much weight on the type of food or the amount of food or things like that, then there's pressure there, and there can be a power struggle too. If you're going, no, you have to try everything on your plate, or you have to eat everything on your plate, or you see them gaining the weight and you go, stop eating so much, it could go either way. And so there's a huge impact that our food has on our families and the amount of time that we spend together. A lot of it is spent around food. And so it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
Yeah. I mean, food has power, but it's how are you going to harness that power? And are you going to make it be a drudgery, or is it going to be something fun that people are excited to come and gather together? Yeah. And that's very much what we're going for as a family, is that, you learn the goods and the bads, but everything in moderation. And moderation is a very good thing we could probably use more of right now.
Right. Right. Well, because there's so many mixed messages out there about what's good, what is not. And, and it's just like, who's right? Well, I think I just want to do it what's right for us.
Well, and I think science is still evolving. And so 50 years ago, they were telling us things that were really good for us. And now we're like, oh, maybe that's not so good. And yet we're also swinging back in other places where we're like, oh, maybe they had it right. Uh-huh. And so I feel like that's why moderation is actually a really good thing, because science is going to keep changing, and we're going to understand more, and that's great. But I don't think we want to be stressing out about every little thing when we don't know always what the long-term consequences are, other than you need to eat to survive. Right. Like we all know we need to eat. We all know we need to drink water. Yeah. So those basics, we're not sure how things are going to look in 50 years. Who knows?
And so, but I think too, what it really comes back to is that we set an example for our kids, that it's okay to try new things. It's okay to, or what kind of, when you do want to say, no thanks, how to appropriately say no thanks, or things like that. Because I served my mission in Hawaii. And so, this culture of like, I was told when I got there, never say no. Don't ever say no. And so we had to figure out how to believe, but I'm okay, or, something like that. And so how do you do that?
I have taken many a nap at a family event to get out of eating more food. My Samoan uncle one time in high school. So I was in high school, I was skinny and I played volleyball and it was totally fine, but I had already eaten a ton because I like food. And so I eat a lot and I have to exercise a lot to balance it out. And that's okay. So I exercise to eat more. Right. But I had already eaten like multiple plates of food and he was like, here, eat more. And I was like, I can't. I was like, I'm really tired. I'm going to lay down. Right. And so I took a nap and then I woke up and he was like, here you go. He had a whole other plate with multiple slices of cake and ice cream. And I was like, all right, here we go. Okay. Right. Back from so yeah,
I think we always try to just eat really slow and talk to the people,
it's a good thing that the Polynesians like to talk story because you can totally milk that to eat a lot less food.
Yes, because as soon as your plate's clean, they load it right back up with some more. And it's wonderful because, food to them that's how you express this love and you care for people with food. And so that was, it was a blessing to be able to see that culture and be part of that. And
it's a blessing, except for when you try to put on your pants the next day and you're like, oh man.
True. I did kind of gain a lot of weight on my mission. But
My husband gained a lot of weight when we first got married because he felt compelled to try to out-eat me, and then rapidly realized after a few months of putting on weight that he could not out-eat me, and so to not try. So now it's like we both kind of have come to the, like, maybe we should just both try to eat less.
awesome.
And like, it's not a competition, like nobody's going to win.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was put on like 10 pounds in the first couple of months. He was like, how do you eat so much food? And I was like, I dance like 6 hours a day.
Yeah.
Like, you're not dancing 6 hours a day, so relax. Anyways, good time.
That's awesome. No, this is great. I mean, because it's so true. This is part of your family culture, and it's part of, the way that we interact with food and the way that we present food and the way we talk about food. It's really is part of how our families thrive and function.
Yeah.
So on that note, how do you define family culture? Like, what comes to mind when you hear that word?
Family culture for us it's maybe a little different than for some. So my husband was in the military, and now he's in law enforcement. And so his schedule has always been crazy. And when he was in the military, he never deployed, but he was training a lot. And so he was often gone for weeks and months at a time. And now with his wonky schedule and working weird days and weird hours, we're really protective of our family time. And I realize that for some people, they think it's kind of weird that, like, I won't go do stuff on the weekend if he's home, or during the week if he's home. Other people may be doing play dates, but if my husband's home during the week, we're hanging out during the week because that's our weekend. And so it means that dinner time for us is really important, but we've also realized that sometimes dinner time, it's worth it to shift when we have dinner time just so we can sit down together as a family. So there was a period of time where he was working nights, and so he had to leave at like 5:00 to go to work, which meant we had dinner at 4:00. And that was kind of weird. Like, my kids are just barely getting home from school and I'm prepping dinner and we're eating dinner, but I really wanted us to sit down together as a family to eat dinner so that we could have that anchored time together. And then other times it's been, he had to leave even like at 3:00 and he got home at like 11 p.m. So like he would get up so that we could have breakfast. And that was our one meal together as a day. Yeah. So I would get up earlier to make a good breakfast so that we could all sit there together as a family. But it's really kind of helped. Like, our kids know that usually every single day we will have a family dinner together.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I love that you said that you have that anchor time. That's so crucial, and that you're incorporating that into your day and the time that you get to be together as that anchor time. And I'm totally with you on whenever my husband and I, like, there's all these times when, like, oh, girlfriends going out and get together, and I'm just like, I would rather just stay home and be with my husband. Sorry.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes I feel like I'm kind of like a jerk of a homebody. But at the same time, I'm like, we're always also constantly pulled in different directions. Yeah. And yet my husband and my children, I want them to know that they are the most important thing to me and that our family is important. And so do I try to fit those things in? Yes. They're not going to be every week. But that's my choice, and because that's what's important to me.
Yeah. Well, and like, for me, it's an emotional thing too, where I'm just like, we are not emotionally available a lot of the times. And so when we get that time together, it's like sacred,
Yeah. Oh, very much.
So
yeah.
I totally get that.
Yeah. Well, and I think so we've also moved a lot. So we've moved 8 times to 4 different states, 5 different cities in 11 years. Wow. And so it makes it kind of weird because we don't really have those friends that we were talking about. Like, we have friends who go on cruises together, and I'm like, I don't know who I'd go on a cruise with because I don't know that I know anybody that well that I would go on a cruise with them.
Right.
But it just means that we've really created this home culture that we have a lot of fun together as a family, and we go and explore, we explore the things around us, and that's really fun. And so I feel like our kids are extremely close because of that, because those are the friends they'll always have as their siblings.
Yeah.
And that the mentors, because we're the ones who are home and we're always there, and so it's shaped a lot of what we do, and going back to my husband always being gone, and it means even holidays. He's worked, I think, like 4 of the last 5 Christmases, which, like, people are always like, oh, that's so sad. And I'm like, well, what we've learned is a day is just a day. So if he works on Christmas, well, we just do Christmas a day earlier or a day later. and it's still Christmas, and my kids they are not as attached to the actual day as they are to the event. So if we have to do Christmas a week later, we do Christmas a week later, and my kids are totally cool with that. So when, and we really realized how much that was an ingrained part of them when we were driving home from my in-laws who live like 3 hours away on Christmas Day. And my husband was like, we'd had a great Christmas morning, spending time with family, but he had to work that night. And so we were driving back, and my husband was like, I'm really sorry that, we're having to drive home on Christmas. And my kids were like, why? Yeah. And we were like, oh, okay. Like we really have that. They really have learned it's actually not that big of a deal. And to be flexible with that, it's okay.
Well, they really take their cues from you guys. Yeah. Like, I think that that's the way it is with family culture and parenting in general. Whatever your feelings are about things, they take their cues from you. If you're stressed out, you're disappointed, then they're going to go, oh yeah, this is really upsetting, and so that's good. That's a good thing that you guys have been able to find that balance and be like, no, this is what's really important. And I like that this word anchor keeps coming to my mind that you said, like those anchor points in each day, but actually like your family is that anchor. Like if it weren't a meal, if there was something that you guys did as a family, that's really what the anchor is your family time.
Yeah.
And so and that your kids will take that cue from you, like what is really valuable, what's really important. And it's the family time and the values that you have together.
Yeah. And I do hope that as we equip them for life, that they'll remember at least the values and the ideas behind what we did and why. Yeah. And we try to be really open with the kids, and I think we have a lot more conversations with my kids than most people would think kids are capable of, but we try to really be open with them about, what their dad does and what that entails and what that means. And sometimes we've had some awkward conversations at dinner about what he's seen that day, because they're like, wait, Mama, what's this? And so it's like, oh, okay, let's talk about this. But at the same time, it means that I think they're not as afraid of the world, because they understand that there's good and bad out there, but that just because there's bad doesn't mean the world's a scary place and they can't go outside.
I love that. Have you seen that quote once where it was like Mr. Rogers, when he was a kid watching the news and seeing all these disasters, and his mom would say, well, look for the helpers.
That is one of my all-time favorite stories. And that's totally has really shaped my mind about, it's hard as an adult to see all this stuff going on and to feel like the world's such a hard place. But then it's remembering that there are always people who are helping, and let's be the helpers for those who are struggling. And then when we're struggling, look for the good things that people are doing for us, because there always are. There's always people, whether it's, grandma and grandpa or a neighbor or a friend, who are helping us through. But it's having to be open with others that we are struggling. And that's been one of my biggest struggles, personally.
Vulnerability of going, hey, I'm having a really hard time.
Yeah, well, and I have depression, and sometimes it's taking me years to be able to acknowledge that to everyone. Yeah, that is part of my life, and that I can look like a very happy person, and I am a very happy person, but that doesn't mean that some days I'm not struggling and having a hard time getting out of bed to even feed my children. Yeah. And that maybe those are the days where I can be like, can you pick up my kids for me at school today? Because I can't. I emotionally am struggling to even eat something today. Could you do me that favor? But it's been amazing to me how, as I've been more open about it, people have been much more willing to reach out to with their own struggles and that connection, because I think it's so hard. We try to be like the super people. We try to be Superman all the time. And no one's Superman. He's a fictional character. I don't understand why we're all trying to emulate a person who does not actually exist.
Yeah, right.
It's like we can do the best we can, but we can also acknowledge that we fail. Yeah. And that we need help, and we can't do it by ourselves.
Well, and I think being open and vulnerable with our friends and especially with our kids, they can see it's okay. Again, they take their cues from us. And if they see us struggling, that actually creates more resilience, because they see, oh, mom's not perfect, and that's normal.
Yeah. Weird.
Maybe it's okay that I'm not going to be perfect, or that I'm going to make mistakes, or that I'm going to struggle with things like that,
Yeah, it's okay to say sorry.
Yeah, right?
As an adult, I apologize to my kids probably about 50 times a day for losing my cool, or, yelling at them, and then them being like, oh, well, I was doing this. And they were being very helpful. And it's like, I was wrong.
Yeah.
And parents make mistakes too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm right there.
Oh, yeah.
I'm right there with you, sister.
Ooh.
Oh, man. So thank you for sharing that. I know that that's really, it can be scary and vulnerable when you're going, I have depression, and I'm right there with you. Like, I've been struggling for the last 10 years with it's sometimes more than just the blues, but
Yeah.
and that's okay. Like, that's one of the reasons why I did that whole 30-day coping strategy thing, was that all the things that I've been learning about how, we just have to, when we pick up again the next day, or learn to cope with it in a constructive way, then we grow in our resilience. And
yeah.
It's just,
and then I think it's important to take those steps back sometimes and reevaluate what you're doing and going, is this good for me? Mm-hmm. And is this good for my family? And if it's not, it's okay to say no, even if other people are trying to push you into saying yes. Yeah. And that's something I've really had to be really good about lately, is really being like, you know what, I can't, and I'm really sorry, but I have to say no. Yeah. It's not just that I don't want to, but I have to.
Yeah. No, boundaries are so important. So important. All right, Jade, I love everything that we're talking about, but now I want to go into one of the reasons why we wanted to come on, have you on the show today, was to talk about this campaign that you have going on, this global eating challenge. So that starts
October 1st.
Okay.
We're starting. Yeah.
So what's that about?
So my friend Jenny at the Gendered Whisk, she's a fellow blogger that I finally got to meet in person after knowing for years online. And that was really fun to actually meet her in person this year at a blogging conference. But she reached out to me and was like, hey, what do you think about doing this Facebook challenge to help encourage families to eat more worldly cuisines? And I loved it, because people have commented all the time about, you send your kids to school with teriyaki chicken and rice, and I think you're such a cool mom. And I was like, it's leftovers. I'm that lazy. I could not make food for my children this morning, that reheating some leftovers and dumping them in their container was actually easier. That doesn't make me a cool mom. But it was really seeing how not normal that was. My kids, we do a yearly sushi trip before school starts, or at the end of school. That's our celebration, that my kids eat sushi, and people are like, wait, they eat sushi. And more than just a California. So they're 9 and 6. Okay. Wow. And this is something we've been doing for years. I mean, so they're not huge on the raw fish yet. We're still working on that. But yeah, they're trying lots of new flavors and new combinations, and they love it. That is their all-time favorite. And so we realized that we could help encourage families. Maybe sushi is the end game goal. Yeah, right. But, there's lots of cool flavors to explore, and it doesn't have to be as scary as I think we make it out to be. So is one of the reasons that you want to do this? I mean, I can see definitely the importance of getting that variety in their palate and learning more about different kinds of foods and getting variety in their lunchbox for sure. But is this also a way to help them understand about different cultures and different situations around the world? Yeah, absolutely. We've been trying to research lots of fun books and TV shows and movies and music, so that you can really kind of immerse in the culture for that little bit or that day. And that's something that we do as a family. If we're having Irish food, we put on some Irish music. If we're having Hawaiian food, we put on Hawaiian music. If we're having some Latin food, we put on some Latin music. Cool. And it's something that it's a fun way to really broaden your horizons as a whole family, and making it fun, because food should be fun. The experience of sitting down together as a family should be fun. But it's having to realize it takes time too. My almost 2-year-old is totally in that I'm going to fight you about everything I eat stage. And it drives me bonkers, because I'm like, man, you were such a good eater. You were eating everything, and now you won't eat anything. But, now again, he's starting, you have to be just consistent with continually offering these crazy dishes. The first time my kids had curry, they hated it. And now they love it. But it took 2 full years of having curry on a monthly basis for them to be like, hey, we're having curry, yay, at the grocery store. And people are my kids will ask me if we're going shopping, like, oh, what are you making? I start listing it off, and they're like, woohoo, we're so excited about that. And I've had other people go like, how do you do that?
Right.
And this is why we created this challenge, is to help other families understand how we do it, because it's not like a secret.
Right. It's just consistency and exposure, keeping them exposed to those different kinds of things.
Yeah, and it's empowering the kids to feel like it's something fun and interesting. Mm-hmm. And there are some ways that like I do that. There's some ways that Jenny do that. Mm-hmm. And so we wanted to talk about those. And I mean, for us, it's like TV shows. There are a lot of really amazing and cool TV shows out there that expose kids to the vast world that we live in. I mean, that's the miracle of this internet age, is that everything is so accessible. Uh-huh. We're not just watching some B-roll from some, long lost expedition. Like, we can Skype with somebody. I was Skyping with a friend who lives in Africa. Like, we have this, we're globally connected. So let's connect with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what are some of the, what's some of the initiatives for people to join besides learning about all these cool things? Is there going to be giveaways? Is there going to be?
Yeah. So each week we have a different theme. So we're starting off with Asian, because we figured like everybody has the most exposure, I think, with Asian food. And then we're going to work up towards the end of it. Is the end of the 5-week challenge is we're going to do African, which is something that even Jenny and I are really, we don't have a lot of exposure to, but we thought, let's work through this whole process with everyone. Yeah. And we brought in some fellow bloggers who are really experts in those particular cuisines, because that's where their families are from or their husbands are from. And so we're going to have them come and talk about like, why is this food amazing? Why is this fun? And then, we have lots of fun giveaways. We're giving lots of cookbooks away for different easy cuisines, the different genres. We have spices and meats and and then I have a friend who she has these foreign language books that she sells to help families learn foreign languages in a really accessible way, where forget about the grammar, forget about like learning just rote words. It's like, here's a phrase, let's learn it together. Okay. And so, one of my favorite ones is like, please clean up your mess, or change your diaper again. And in Spanish, it's necesito cambiar, cambiar el pañal otra vez. Like, I said that one probably about 18 times a day, it feels like.
Right.
So, I mean, we're trying to make this a really kind of more of an encompassing experience. Like, yes, it's about the food, but it's also about, we want your family to enjoy this whole challenge. Yeah. And if you win something through it all, that's awesome. We'll have giveaways each week, and then we have like the big grand prize giveaway if you participate in each week's challenges.
Oh, this sounds so cool. Yeah, that sounds awesome. I love that idea, everything, to be able to expose even the language and the videos. Are you guys going to get on and do videos about, talking about it and everything like that?
Yeah. So tomorrow we're actually going to do a Facebook Live. It'll be early my time, because she's like you, she's on the other coast. Uh-huh. I'm West Coast, you guys are East Coast. So it'll be early. I think we're going live at like 8:30 Pacific Standard Time. But we're going to be talking about how to get your kids to eat more foods. What are some successful tips before you even get through this? Like, be prepared to really, what can you expect? Yeah. And then each week we'll be going live to talk about.
Each week on Wednesdays?
Tuesdays or Wednesdays. I think we're still mostly Wednesdays. We're trying, but people's schedules. We're busy. We're all busy moms. It's hard to all get on the same page at the same time.
I'm glad that you're going to be giving those tips at the beginning too, because like you said, it's not easy to introduce your kids to different types of foods. And it'll be a process. Yeah. Yes.
And that was what my husband and I were talking about. Like, experts say it takes 15 to 20 times of introducing a new food to a child before they'll even actually try it. And so it's like really managing expectations. Like, your kids aren't going to come out of this maybe eating everything, but maybe they will have tried one new thing that they're like, hey, Mama, I really liked this. And so can we have this again? And the answer should be 100% yes. Yeah. So yes, we will make this again, and maybe we can introduce something else new that you might really like on top of that.
And it's exciting to think that if you are creating these like easy to do recipes too, because I think sometimes I feel intimidated going, I want to create some kind of different ethnic dish, but there's a lot of unfamiliar ingredients, or
or there's like 18,000 steps.
Yes. Yeah.
We're like, this is like a 4-page recipe. I'm not making that. Yeah. So both Jenny and I will be sharing recipes, easy recipes. We'll be sharing some easy recipes from the bloggers that are coming on. So that we both really, with multiple kids, like for me, dinner time has to be able to be done like start to finish in under an hour generally. Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, that's got to include prep time and cook time. And so we both try to do that. So
yeah, I like this idea too, because like how it relates to me when I think of family culture is like, you could start to shape like some of your intentional feelings about introducing different types of foods, maybe saying beforehand, like when you serve a different food, tell your kids, I want you to try at least 2 bites of this. And then that can become part of your family culture, is like every time you go to a new restaurant, or every time you go to you're a guest at somebody else's house, then your children begin to understand this like expectation. I'm going to try at least 2 bites to be polite or something like that. So that's
the politeness. Even my son, a lot of times, he'll tell me, he's like, Mama, I hate this. Okay. Let's talk about how we can phrase this better. And maybe and a lot of times it's not even that he hates it. It's just he didn't like he's like, I didn't like the plantains in it this time. And it's like, so pick those out. Like, like if you like all the rest of it, but there's the one ingredient you don't like, okay, so let's figure this out. And let's talk about it. Cause maybe you could be like, Mama, maybe next time, can we do the plantains on the side? Or, like it's,
be able to open that conversation
humble, man.
up. Yeah. But to be able to open it up, and then like, cause my kids will look at something before they even taste it and go, I don't like this. But it's good. It's good to have this conversation. Keep introducing new things. I love that.
What's funny is I found that TV shows for my kids, like we could watch diners, drive-ins, and dives. I could have made one of the things that they show on the TV show and they wouldn't try it. They see it on the TV show and they want to try it. And I'm like, fine, whatever. Okay, let's make this again. And they're like, oh, Mama, this is so good. And I'm like, fine, we can finally eat this again.
That's so funny. There's even a Daniel Tiger episode where they talk about like trying new foods and stuff like that. And
you know what? I feel like it's having to hear it come from somebody else. It's like you could say the same thing 100 times a day to your children, but because their teacher tells them once at school, they now know. And I realized, you know what? Let's harness that. Let's watch some shows where they're eating lots of cool foods and traveling the world. And then my kids are like, oh, Mama, that sounds fun. Let's do that. I'm like, great. We can do that in our own kitchen. Come on, let's go.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Cool. I'm looking forward to this challenge. That sounds really fun, Jade.
So we have a landing page. We kind of run through what we're doing. It's on the Gingered Whisk. She has the landing page. We've been promoting it a lot on social media. So if you were to look for Jenny at the Gingered Whisk on social media, or for me, Jonesin for Taste, that's my handle across all social media. You'll find it. You can always message me. Direct message me through any one of those channels, and I can get you the link.
Awesome.
And you can join, like, even if you get halfway through the challenge, you can totally come in and still join. We're not trying to make this like you have to join October 1st or you can't get in. We realize people, as you maybe are like, oh yeah, I'm doing this fun challenge. Share it with your friends. Like, doing it with a friend is always going to make it easier.
Totally. Awesome. Thank you so much, Jade. I love talking with you, and this has been really awesome learning about what you do and what you're encouraging and doing with your family. I really love this so much. Thank you so much, Jade.
Thanks, Jody. It was so much fun.
Thank you for listening. I love getting your feedback. You can like, rate, and share on your favorite broadcasting medium or social media platform. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest at Family Culture Podcast, and on Twitter @_Family Culture. Come check out my show notes and resources at homeandfamilyculture.com. Thanks again for listening. Mother Teresa once said, "If you want to change the world, go home and love your family."